because it's really a pretty stunning turnaround, at least to me. Mark Walter, of course, bought the Lakers last year for $10 billion and now has sold it for $12 billion. What's your reaction to this news?
Man, my reaction to this news is Aaron Rodgers was with the New York Jets longer than Mark Walter owned the piece of the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, everybody was talking all year about how great the synergy was going to be between the Dodgers and the Lakers, which is a classic eye roll, because just because you are running one organization doesn't mean the other organization is all of a sudden going to be running with the same level of synergy. And so now you get a switch up. I feel really bad for all the people who were impacted by the layoffs at the end of last season, and everyone chalked it up to ownership putting their stamp on things, just to turn around and now the owner is getting $2.5 billion to get up out of there. And I think that you have to kind of look at the possible connections between federal agents and looking into Mark Walter financial dealings, and not that he's been charged with anything, but I'm sure Pablo Torre will have something to say about that over the coming weeks. So it's a lot to take in, and if there's one thing I can tell you about NBA ownership, in the 2020s, there's 30 NBA teams, and about 10 of them have changed hands. And this isn't the first time for the Lakers, obviously. We're just talking about Mark Walter getting out. So this is a league that, it's like, what's the question? Does everybody want in or does everybody want out? This is another phenomenon within. It's the Lakers. So everyone is going to be wondering what the heck is going on. I'm sure Lakers fans are wondering what's going on because, again, they were thinking, oh, Mark Walter's going to bring all that Dodgers success to the Lakers, and he ain't going to be saying that now.
Right. And Law, like you said, it's the Lakers. And for me, whenever I think about the Lakers, I think about the fact that it's more than just a sports franchise here. It's really part of the identity of Los Angeles. So how monumental is this for the city of LA to have this quick turnaround and this sale happening also post LeBron era at this point, too?
Yeah, it's just funny timing. It really is. Let's discuss the guys that are going to be undertaking the ownership of the team now. Bob Iger, who anyone who's familiar with Disney is familiar with Bob Iger, and then you have Josh Kushner, and Josh Kushner has been someone who had minority stakes in other NBA teams, most recently the Miami Heat, but interesting enough, the Memphis Grizzlies in 2019, and we know LeBron had some things to say about the Memphis Grizzlies, but that's beside the point. I think there are a lot of questions. I think we all knew what the connection was as far as Jeanie Buss and Mark Walter. Now, what's that connection with the new owners, and what does that mean for Jeanie? What does that mean for the Lakers? How are these guys going to run the team with their vision? Are they going to need their honeymoon period to see what's going on, and what are the consequences and ramifications of that? There are a ton of things in transition with the Lakers. We were watching the Lakers play a playoff game, win a playoff game with 5 dudes who none of those 5 dudes are on the team anymore, including LeBron James. This is Luka Doncic's team. Luka was hurt in the playoffs. Luka's main sidekick was Austin Reeves. He was hurt to begin the playoffs. He obviously finished the playoffs at less than 100%. So it's a lot of questions. It's a lot of questions about why Mark Walter is leaving, what Jeanie Buss's role is. Rob Pelinka survives again. The new ownership group and what their vision is and how long it's going to take for them to implement it. There are a lot of questions. I think we're just going to need time to flesh it all out.
There are a lot of questions, and one of the questions I have as a Lakers fan and other Lakers fan, if you are valuing the Lakers at a $12 billion valuation, what does that mean for ticket prices? Does that mean that we could see higher prices, you think, as well?
I wouldn't connect that too much. I think this is just what happens when you have a franchise like the Lakers up for any kind of sale. And this came together very quickly. Again, questions are, how does Mark Walter go from buying this team, taking ownership, having a long-term plan that involved the previous governor, Jeannie Buss, who is ingrained in the culture of Los Angeles and the Lakers and the NBA on a global scale. And then, what was the impetus? We have an idea, but, I guess we don't want to assume, right? So when it comes to ticket prices, I think, what's a goodwill thing is to not have that go too crazy, like just because you bought the team doesn't mean, hey, we're jacking prices up just because we bought the team because we need that money. That's like, nah, like the Lakers did well to win a playoff series last year. You can keep the ticket prices where they're at. You can even drop them and get some goodwill. I think that would be in these new owners' best interest. We'll see how it goes. But I don't think that at this time I would be too concerned about the fact that the price that the Lakers sold for being higher, correlating in any way to the get-in price to get into a game.
Well, that's good to hear. And, you mentioned Mark Walter, and I do want to put out there that Bloomberg News is reporting that Mark Walter needed the cash fast to pay down a loan amid a DOJ probe. So that is being reported out there. We'll see, obviously, if that comes to light. But this is a very quick turnaround, like we've been talking about during this interview. And, in your perspective, a lot of people, like you said, the Buss family is so ingrained in the legacy of the Lakers. And you talk to Lakers fans all the time. Do you really think that people are kind of missing that Buss family and hoping that maybe the new owners bring some of that back?
Well, I got Lakers fans in my mentions for different reasons than to talk to me. I'll say that. But I think there's just a lot of consternation about what this all means for their team. I think when you're a fan of a team and you're getting into discussions about ownership, you want one thing: how does this make the team better? That was an easy conversation when Mark Walter took the team over, because his cash assets, maybe they weren't going to affect. There's this salary cap that, again, if you've been following anything happening with the Clippers, you can see how that controversy has unfolded over the past year. But there's a salary cap. You are limited into what you can do as far as, paying players and getting this. The biggest difference between the Dodgers and MLB and the Lakers and the NBA, like, your wealth is not going to automatically be an advantage from a personnel standpoint as far as players go. It does mean something about your support systems and your facilities and how you're supporting the organization in that way. Very clear what the assets were going to be for Mark Walter. I think it's a little more unclear what it's going to mean for Bob Iger and Kushner coming in. And I think that's going to be an open question. It's like all those things you talked about as how this new change in ownership was going to be an improvement on what you had in Jeannie Buss's experience. Like, Lakers fans were like, hey, Jeannie Buss, great for the legacy and the brand. Maybe not as good as far as the behind the scenes stuff, as far as building out your front office and your organization. Well, you were looking forward to those things being built out, but things were going slow this offseason, especially when it came to front office hires. Again, going back to Rob Pelinka, the people who are supposed to be supporting him in his role as the basketball president. Now that's on hold once again, because you are now preparing for the second offseason in a row for this transition in terms of the board of governors. That is going to be what Lakers fans are most concerned about, and that is going to be at best an open question, and at worst it's going to be a disadvantage for the Lakers in the short term.
Law Murray with The Athletic, thank you so much for joining us here on the Fox Local Stream, and thank you so much for all of your expertise on this topic and talking about what this really means for the Lakers and, of course, for their fans. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me.